Global warming is a steady overall increase of temperature occurring on Earth for reasons ranging from fossil fuel burning to deforestation. Global warming is characterized by events such as the accumulation of various greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which are preventing the escape of sun rays. As these rays are absorbed by the greenhouse gases and kept in the upper atmosphere, the Earth is warmed. Global warming is causing shifts in the overall temperature of Earth. The resultant climate change is found to be dangerous to living organisms because the warming of Earth is disrupting patterns, habitats, and activities of organisms. Human interferences have caused much increase in the greenhouse effect, resulting in climbing temperatures.
Living organisms exist under a delicate balance, temperature being one major factor of life. Changes in temperature as a result of global warming cause disruption in the natural ways of life by altering interactions between trophic levels or different levels of the food chain, as well as individual species. Also, the results of global warming, such as reduced plant life and species diversity, will force organisms to adapt or they will die. Temperature increases are not the only adverse effects of global warming. Increased carbon dioxide levels are causing acidification of oceans and preventing organisms like fish, coral, and algae from surviving in new, inhospitable environments. Global warming has been found to contribute to what may be the extinction of anywhere from 20 to 30% of species, should the average warming exceed 1.5 to 2.5 degrees Celsius. If the temperature increase were to exceed 3.5 degrees Celsius, projections of extinction would rise to 40 to 70% species around the globe. Scientists are now noting several adverse effects related to the results of global warming. Earlier leaf production, earlier greening of vegetation, changed timing of egg laying and hatching, changes in migration patterns of birds, fish, and other animals, and reductions and redistributions of populations like algae and plankton, which threatens the existence of fish and other animals that heavily rely on algae and plankton for stable food. Agriculture is also suffering from global warming as a result of extreme weather like droughts and floods. We will be exploring the evidence of the effect of global warming in case studies involving trophic levels, coral reefs, marine fish, polar bears, and vegetation. Trophic interactions are essential to keeping the balance of an ecosystem. Organisms in an ecosystem have a set way of interacting. This process has been developed according to the particular environment, but is violated through changes in the environment by global warming, which cause negative effects on the environment overall. Scientists set up an experiment testing the effect of global warming on the ecosystem structure of an alpine meadow. The experiment involved analyzing how climate change could potentially disrupt an ecosystem by altering the interactions between the organisms in the tested area. This test showed how a temperature increase would result in burrowing animals during vegetation. Overall, the result of the temperature increase caused excessive damage of the vegetation by the burrowers, so the scientists concluded that temperature increase is detrimental to ecosystem stability. Graph A reveals the portion of the graph of the experiment showing how the trophic levels respond to temperature change. Increased plant growth due to temperature increase created a more suitable environment for burrowers, which began to take over the area as shown in Graph A. The warmed area showed that warming actually causes damage to the environment. The burrow density was deeper in the warmed regions due to the increase in plant growth. In Graph B, this is further explained, showing that the warmed chambers of land had more percent area of damage. This was all because the increase in temperature caused an increase in the plant productivity of the burrower's preferred plant, the silverweed. Therefore, the experiment concludes that warming, such as global warming, can increase damage to the ecosystem overall, meaning that global warming has adverse effects on the environment.
Increased carbon dioxide concentration due to the burning of fossil fuels leads to carbon dioxide being deposited into the ocean, which is one of the pathways which carbon dioxide can be depleted and recycled from the atmosphere. In the ocean, the work of photosynthetic plankton are vital to this process. However, with recent spikes to the carbon dioxide concentration, the ocean is dissolving more carbon dioxide plankton can use. The excess carbon dioxide, along with heating up the Earth,
acidifies the ocean and contributes to the rapid extinctions of species. This dissolved carbon is turned into carbonic acid if unprocessed and can build up to lower the pH of water. The graph on this slide shows how the level of dissolved carbon dioxide follows the same pattern as a rise in temperature. Additionally, you can see how the rates of extinction indicated by the blue line follows a similar pattern. Thus, as carbon dioxide and temperature levels increase, extinction rates increase proportionally. In the past, rapid extinctions within the ocean have been attributed to conditions similar to that of the present day's crisis. Though the interesting is that while other things go extinct, coral survives. So it is really what lives in the coral reefs that dies rather than coral itself. In the research done on coral reefs, the coral was just used to measure mineral density, as it proves quite resilient to the change in pH and in temperature. This is due to the evidence showing that coral has survived past global warming-like scenarios. However, this shows that global warming has an adverse effect on marine life.
Climatic changes have been linked to altered geographical distributions of many organisms, including marine fish. Yet, it remains difficult to distinguish direct causal relations between environmental temperature and species distribution patterns from indirect effects through interactions with prey, predators, pathogens, or competitors. Partner and Kunz performed a study to provide compelling evidence that thermal constraints on oxygen transport are causing the population of a marine fish to decline in the Wadden Sea. It was found that increased temperatures prevent certain types of fish from carrying out aerobic respiration and taking in oxygen because increased temperatures increase metabolic activity, and cardiac activity cannot continue unless there is a proportional increase in cardiac output. With increasing temperatures from global warming, fish are dying without the ability to take in oxygen and are unable to undergo growth and reproduction. Not only this, but because dissolved oxygen in water decreases with rising temperatures, there is very minimal oxygen available for marine animals to share. And so, warmer summers are found to be followed by reduced species diversity. This is seen in the graph where elevated temperatures soon result in a decreased species population.
Global warming is really caused by the effects of human beings. In this study, it was shown that there is an increase in carbon dioxide, polar ice caps melting, glaciers melting, and sea level. Since the ice caps and glaciers are melting, the animals who live in the Arctic areas are unable to survive in the conditions they will be forced to live in. Ever since the start of the new millennium, temperature has shot up due to an increase in carbon dioxide and the burning of fossil fuels. In many years to come, other scientists can conduct the same or similar experiment to prove how the chart might be. The chart shows the dramatic drop in the number of seals and bears over a matter of days, showing that glacial melting is destroying the habitats of these animals, either killing them and or forcing them to migrate. Polar bears are being displaced from their natural habitats due to the results of global warming, increased temperatures which are melting the ice caps of their ecosystems. Flooding also results from this massive melting, also causing dangers to animals like bears. Also, their food sources such as fish are being depleted due to acidification of the waters, which is killing off fish. Thus, the chart shows how all these effects together are causing the exponential reduction of seals and bears. Polar bears and seals are suffering from global warming much like many other organisms, which are losing their habitats and getting imbalanced from their natural patterns.
Richard Feuerstein studied the net emissions of greenhouse gases from land use change by observing carbon stock in vegetation. This graph shows the carbon stock in different land uses that include agriculture, productive pasture, degraded pasture, secondary forest from farmland, and secondary forest from pasture. The secondary forest from farmland had the highest carbon stock while the agriculture land had the lowest carbon stock. This was most likely because some vegetation in the agriculture land had been restored. Feuerstein concluded from his research that the carbon stock had increased throughout the years in various types of vegetation where deforestation was present. Deforestation produces photosynthesis in the ecosystems affected, and so carbon dioxide accumulates, contributing to the greenhouse effect, worsening global warming. Thus, deforestation and thus global warming will continue the cycle of disrupting ecosystems and causing the loss of more and more organisms through further ocean acidification and trophic interaction imbalance.
Global warming is the steady overall increase of temperature occurring on Earth, which is disrupting the delicate balance of living organisms and their environments. Several studies have been conducted to show the adverse effects of global warming on organisms. Overall ecosystems are negatively affected through the results of global warming. This is because organisms interact in specific ways, usually according to the climate, and so global warming is disrupting the ways species interact in an ecosystem. This was shown in the way that burrowing animals destroyed areas of land that were subjected to warmer temperatures. Oceans are also affected by global warming. Ocean waters that are warmed absorb less oxygen and more carbon dioxide, which together is very dangerous for marine life. Increased carbon dioxide results in acidification of the waters, which prevents calcification of shell-forming organisms and overall creates a toxic environment for marine animals. Decreased oxygen levels prevent sufficient cellular respiration in marine life. Together, these effects are reducing the species population of the waters. Global warming is destroying many natural habitats, such as those of bears, by melting glaciers and ice caps, and so these animals are forced to migrate or else they may die. Deforestation has been worsening global warming by reducing photosynthesis in affected areas and thus allowing for the increase in carbon dioxide, therefore contributing further to the greenhouse effect, trapping more heat in the atmosphere, and also allowing more carbon dioxide to be dissolved into waters and other bodies of water. Deforestation allows global warming to continue its adverse effects on living organisms.
There is no doubt that global warming is affecting the whole planet. Climate change is forcing every living creature on our planet to adapt to climate change. As the global warming impact becomes stronger and stronger, animals find it more and more difficult to adapt. And the worst thing is that this is only a start of something that will become much worse in years to come. Changed weather conditions and more frequent extreme weather events will cause many animals to go extinct. Many people mostly connect global warming with ice melting and polar bears. However, polar bears are not the only animals affected with global warming. Global warming isn't only affecting polar regions, but the whole planet. Yes, the Arctic is rapidly melting, making polar bear survival harder, but thousands of other animal species are struggling as well. Many tropical animal species are at jeopardy of going extinct even with the temperature rise of just a degree or two, simply because these species are familiar to live in environments within a very small temperature range, and any temperature increase above range is likely to cause their extinction, as they will not have enough time to adapt. Currently, global warming isn't the number one problem mostly responsible for so many endangered animals around the globe. The number one problem still remains habitat loss, but if global warming strengthens its impact in years to come, many more animals will be listed as endangered and many will forever perish from the face of the earth. However, there are many ways we can help reduce the rate of global warming. By driving less, this reduces gas consumption and a pound of carbon dioxide for each mile you do not drive. Second, we should recycle. We can save up to 2,400 pounds of carbon dioxide each year just by recycling half of our household waste. We can plant trees to replace the ones cut down by deforestation. One tree can absorb 1 ton of carbon dioxide in its lifetime. And finally, we should turn off electronics when not in use. By simply turning off your TV, computer, and other electronic devices, this can save a household thousands of pounds of carbon dioxide.